companies are operating more and more with freelancers, but they want to act like they're enterprises. So it's like, how do you do that? We don't have infrastructure that does that. We don't.
That's Ben Ikwaugwu, a lifelong vocalist turned supply chain professional and now the CEO of SoundCheck Live. After years of gigging while working in the corporate world, he saw firsthand how fast the freelance economy was growing and how unprepared the tools were to support it.
The number one pain that we're eliminating right now is the fragmentation of managing gigs and freelancers. So a lot of folks that we work with are using text message or email, and every person that they work with, they're communicating on a different medium.
He explains why fragmented communication isn't just inconvenient, but actively holding musicians, band leaders, gig operators from running a real business.
You have many days to make mistakes and then you get a performance review. You don't get that in the gig economy. You have one time maybe to just screw it up. You have to be really good at your job to keep getting jobs.
Today, he breaks down what it really takes to operate professionally in a freelance-first world and why musicians may actually be better prepared for the future than they realize. By the end of this conversation, you'll understand why the gig economy isn't a side hustle anymore and what it demands if you want to survive in it. Stick around. I'm Bobby Owsinski, and this is the Inner Circle Podcast. Let's start right off. Give me some of your background, because you started as you're a musician, and obviously the app came because of some frustrations that you had.
Oh yeah, so much frustration. I started the business because I was frustrated, but I mean, this was like agony. And no disrespect to the people that I worked for, but it was really observing musicians turned business owners, which are some of the best business owners when it comes to negotiating, when it comes to leading people. But when it comes to organizing and building systems around their business, they are the worst. I mean, honestly, they're the worst at it. And those are my bosses for years. I worked for them. I admired them as people and as musicians and as creatives. But I could not get over the fact that they did not know how to run a business. I mean, there's more to it. We started off hot with the negative, but
yeah, right.
we jumped right into it. But I've been a vocalist my whole life. I started doing it professionally about 10 years ago. Before that, I had a pretty unstructured way of performing. I mean, I say unstructured, but it was in church and choirs, never professional, right? Never paid for it. It was just what I did. I'm a singer. And then I hit an inflection point where people started to offer to pay me. And I was like, oh, I can ask for money to do? Oh, that's cool. No, I just had never, I was like, oh, well, yeah, $100. Like, I don't know. I mean, my first paid gig was through a friend of a friend's mom from school who was like, hey, my cousin's getting married and we want to hire you. And I was like, hire me? I've been singing at weddings for free my whole life. What do you mean you want to hire me? And she was like, oh, no, we're going to pay you. And I remember just like feeling so bad. I'm like, I can't get paid. So I did it. And I was like, you can't pay me, whatever. And she ended up giving me like a gift card or whatever. But that was like the start of me being like, maybe I should start charging people, whatever. But yeah, so, always been a vocalist. But I actually went to school for supply chain management. The way I describe it, it's how we as humans have described the way in which we get raw material like wood, metals, plastics into a finished good, right? So like this microphone or whatever, or this computer. And that whole process is the supply chain. And I studied that in school. So I studied systems and process, and I studied things being done in a chronological order and building workflows. And you can't build a table until the wood is manufactured, right? I mean, that was what I did for 4 years. At the same time, I was gigging, I was getting paid to do it. And it was just so fun. It was my escape from school. It was how I decompressed, and I was getting paid, which was awesome. But then I graduated, got a full-time job working in supply chain. But then at the same time, I'm becoming a better vocalist and I was a better performer. So the gigs that I was doing in college they elevated. And for the longest battled with like, ooh, do I go and do that or do I stay in supply chain? I'm doing these really cool gigs and I'm, traveling internationally, being flown out. Like that's super cool. And I want to keep doing that. But also I have a day job and I'm getting a check every 2 weeks. And that's also really nice.
Yeah, right.
So kind of did both in parallel for about 7 years, working 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and then gigging about 4 times a week, usually booked every Saturday. Usually 40 Saturdays out of the year I was booked, and then was doing like residencies throughout the week. I mean, when I was 21, like that was just like, I was living, that was the coolest thing ever. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I love this. And then every year I was like, this is a lot. Oh, I'm going to do less gigs this year, and then less this year. And that's just not how it works, right? I just got more gigs like, as I tried to do less, which is awesome. It's a blessing, and something I'm just like really grateful for. That's a long background. But the idea of SoundCheck and what I'm building now really came about in 2023 or 4, I would say. I was living with my current roommate, who's a software developer. And at that point, he had already built 2 applications, had started 2 companies. He knew what he wanted to do, and like he wanted to be a founder, and that's what he was doing. And obviously I was like gigging and working, whatever. Just we were both living very chaotic lives separately. And after his second startup wasn't getting traction, he lived with me. So he heard me complaining about everything. Like I just like, I'm like, I cannot believe I'm about to fly to Puerto Rico and this gig is planned in email. Like I got my flights, like whatever. I was just like, I can't believe I'm doing these like super cool gigs that just crazy budgets and whatever, and no one knows what's going on. Like we're just kind of piecing it together. And he's like, well, what if we just started to work on something? And I was like, I don't know. Whatever. I was like, I don't know. Like, that seems like a lot. I don't know where to start. But he's done it before and had an idea of where to start. So yeah, we didn't have a name for it, but we just started creating mock-ups and throwing out ideas of like, oh, we can solve this pain by, using this workflow or whatever, simplifying it this way or that way. And we just kind of noodled for about 6 months of like, I was like, but I don't know. I'm like, what am I doing? Quit my job? Like, whatever. We're just like, I don't know if I'm going to do this, right? And then, I don't know, man. The more we tried to make it casual and like, maybe we'll do it. We started talking to friends about it, and people just were interested in it. Like, I could use that. What if you did this? And then it was more of SoundCheck became just ideas from our community. It was just like people saying like, hey, what if, ooh, that's cool, but have you thought about that? And we were like, no, we haven't thought about that, but that would be a lot of work. And they were like, but then we can integrate it with it. And we're just like, okay, fine, let's think, whatever. So people that we talked to were just really interested in the idea. They knew us separately, and they knew that we were crazy and just worked all day. And they're like, yeah, y'all could, if y'all put y'all's brains together, you could probably do something. And we did. We were like, okay, let's make it a company. Let's start building our prototypes. Let's get feedback. I mean, I was still gigging, right? So at gigs, I would just pull out my laptop and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And they're like, oh, no, I wouldn't use that. Or like, don't do the button that way, whatever, right? So we were doing a lot of just like on the job beta testing and getting ideas. And yeah, I mean, it's been about 1.5 years of building it, and roller coaster.
Give me an example of some of the pain that SoundCheck Live alleviates.
I like to sum it up, and we're building an operating system. And the number one pain that we're eliminating right now is the fragmentation of managing gigs and freelancers. So a lot of folks that we work with are using text message or email or piecemeal like project management tools. And every person that they work with, they're communicating on a different medium. So we build a one-stop shop where you can communicate with the client, you can plan the gig, you can settle with your team, and you can also communicate with all the talent and vendors part of the gig in one place. So instead of having to learn how other tools work, or instead of having to create your own business management software, we are just plug and play. So the key thing is we alleviate the inability to build a end-to-end software that works for on-demand teams, really what we call it. And then we also just make it super simple to bring in what the client or venue needs for a gig, and then make sure that gets to your team in the quickest way and simplest way possible.
When you say settle up, does that mean pay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's actually built into the app.
Correct. Yeah. So that's what we're building. Yeah. We're, when you hire someone, you say, hey, you're going to be paid this much. The gig is over. You press a button and you can pay them. That is the full end-to-end.
And do you get paid from the client that way as well?
So yeah, so that's actually coming. We're working on invoicing and inbound payments right now. Probably should have that in the next couple of weeks. But right now it's just outbound for payments. So paying your team. So like the band or the organization paying their actual team on the platform.
Is this only for music, bands, etc.? Are there applications beyond that?
Building a startup is hard because the ideas just never stop coming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just want to turn my idea brain off and be like, hey, I'm working on one thing. Okay. Let me just do the one thing. But dude, there are applications every day where I'm like, oh man, SoundCheck could be cool for that. I'll tell you the latest one that I was encountered with a couple of weeks ago. We were at a trade show and we were talking to one of the talent managers for the trade show. This wasn't even supposed to be a SoundCheck conversation, but everything in my life is a SoundCheck conversation. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I gotta go. I got an email from one of my models." She calls them models, and they're struggling with the client. And I was like, "Okay, interesting. I wonder who her models are." Anyway, come to find out, she's a leader of a formal modeling agency turned into really just a trade show talent management company. So she hires end to end from the janitor to the door person to the drivers to the everyone that will run a trade show. All freelancers, all former models. So like obviously very stout and very well put together. And her entire operation. And by the way, she's not doing like cute trade shows. Like she's doing CES, NVIDIA, like, right? And all of those operations, she was using WhatsApp to manage. Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And then I'm like, this is a gig. You're a gig leader and you're hiring freelancers and you are working with the clients. Like this is an application for SoundCheck. Good thing is we're in talks and like, and so good, so far so good. Yeah. So really what we are ultimately building, which we are learning more and more every day, is we're building the platform to power the gig economy. I know that sounds like crazy and you're like, what, how are you going to do that? But the issue of managing a business that you want to run like a business, but you don't really have full-time employees, it is how do I get these people that I'm going to meet maybe 1 or 2 times in a year to operate under my company culture, to represent me in the best way, to show up on time, to want to come back, right? To feel that, this was a great environment, to make sure the client is happy, all of these things, but you have one day to execute that. You know what I mean? Like a business that has full-time employees, I mean, you see them every day, like you have many days to make mistakes and then you get a performance review and then they're like, oh, you got to improve and then you improve and then you don't get that in the gig economy. Like you have one time, maybe 2 times to just screw it up as the talent and as the operator. You have to be really good at your job to keep getting jobs.
Right.
You can't be mediocre and expect to like keep getting a job in this world. That's just not how it works. Yeah. And I don't think people think about it enough, but right now we read a stat like by next year, 2027, more than half of the US economy will be freelance. And it's been trending that way for the last 10 years because we're moving more towards a world that is fragmented. Because with technology, with people wanting more freedom, you don't have to go clock in anymore. And because of that, we are seeing like companies are operating more and more with freelancers. But they want to act like they're enterprises. So it's like, how do you do that? We don't have infrastructure that does that. We don't. We have big tools like Workday and UKG and ADP, whatever, all these tools that have been around and manage people and talent. But we don't have tools that are built for most of the economy in the US to not operate on a 9 to 5, weekly basis. That's what we find ourselves building for so many things in life. You look at music and you're like, oh, if you use music as an analogy or if you use music to understand how the world works, you understand how the world works a lot better. But the way music works and the way event professionals operate, we've been doing that forever, but that is how the world is more operating now. Like people are like, oh, I heard someone say, oh, with AI, it's so much more important to be in person now. I'm like, what? Like, why is it? Why is that like a groundbreaking statement? It's like, we've known forever that being in person is the only way. Why are you just now understanding that, right? And it's not, people are like, oh, you have to get out and go to events and put your phone down. I'm like, yeah, that's how we operate. Like, yeah, that's how the world has always worked, by the way. That's not new. The good thing is people are realizing that, and that's good. People are valuing human experience more. Well, it's good for us because we've always valued human experience. We always get our energy from delivering a performance or receiving a performance, right? And the way I see it for SoundCheck is if that's how people are thinking now and that's where the world is moving, who's going to power that? Like, we're not equipped for that. We haven't been. We've been equipped for go to school, follow rules, go to work, retire. Like, that's how we've been equipped. That's not the future. At least that's not what it looks like. I know that's like very heady, but that's sort of how I think about what we're building ultimately.
Have you ever noticed that mixing vocals is often the hardest part of getting a track to sound right? You boost, you compress, you add effects, and it still doesn't feel professional. So, to make it easier, I put together a simple mini course on vocal mixing that walks you through the exact steps to get the vocals sounding clear and upfront. If you're interested, scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the show notes. Now, back to today's conversation. Well, one of the things that attracts me to your platform is the fact that it's an integrated platform and it performs a lot of functions in one place.
Yep.
A lot of useful functions that an event planner, a band leader, or whatever would need. And one of the problems that, for instance, I've had being in this business for a long time is the fact that you start to use certain platforms for certain things. And then you find, well, I should use this platform because it integrates more easily with this one. And it may not be the best one, but it integrates better. So you find yourself using it mostly on the basis of the integration rather than the usefulness.
Yeah.
And that's why what you're doing from the ground up actually makes a lot of sense. And it sounds like it's a perfect solution, actually.
There's time in software where integrations was the play, right? To the point you're making. It's like, ooh, if you can get your tool to connect with QuickBooks, oh, everyone's going to run to it.
Yeah.
Or if you can get your CRM to pull in email whatever threads, oh, you're going to crush. Well, here's the thing. Here's where we're at with software now. You don't have to, obviously integration is still important, and I agree with you. I think that's also an important reason why I even use some software. But we're at a point now where you can build the exact thing you want. If you want it, like if you're like, I'm using QuickBooks, but I only use like 30% of the features, well, guess what? You can go rebuild 30% of QuickBooks. How do you do that? I mean, that's why you hire experts, and that's what we're part of doing. But you can go do that now if you have some time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's part of what we're doing. Like part of what we're building at SoundCheck is obviously software and it's a tool, but it's also education. We host sessions where we show people the latest AI tools that they can use to go build their own tools. We're like, hey, you can go build a version of SoundCheck, by the way. You don't have to wait on us. Like, right? Part of it is education. We're actually, in like a small plug, we're hosting an official South by Southwest showcase here in Austin on the first day of South by in March 12th. And we're hosting what we call a creative hackathon, where we pull in the latest and best AI tools and we show people like how to solve their problems. Because that's so important, especially for artists who are already solving their problems some way and more manual. But that's part of what we're doing too, is I don't think the future is like waiting for this big company to go and like do something so then you can go be unblocked. Like you have the ability to unblock yourselves. It's about learning how to use the tools, and security is a huge piece. So understanding the right security measures to put in place and all of that, like that's really important, at least from my perspective. Also, I'm like deep in this. I should say I see a world where artists can start building their own tools. And obviously SoundCheck is here. I mean, we're a platform and we're run by experts who understand how the technology works. So obviously we love if you trust us. I mean, there's a world where very soon where you just can think of an idea and you can go and solve the problem that you're having.
For better or for worse.
For better or for worse, right? Because what that's going to do is, I mean, there's going to be so many crappy tools out there. I get it. So I'm not like encouraging every person to go be a developer. But if it's a pretty small, like if you're like, oh man, I wish my task management app did this. Like, okay, that is a low risk. You can actually go and build a mobile application that you can deploy on your own, like right now. It'll probably take you like 6 hours. So do it over some days, right? But you can, though. That's kind of the point I'm making. Like, I'm not saying you're not going to build QuickBooks. That's not going to happen. But if it's something pretty simple and you're like, oh man, I have all these food in my fridge and I'm stressed, I don't know what to do with it. Like, go build a recipe app, whatever, right? Like, whatever. There's like all these things, right? It's like, yeah. I hear people complain. I'm like, you can actually go solve that problem on your own, just like you wrote that song, like whatever. Like you can do that. So anyway, I kind of got off of a tangent, but
well, no, I understand completely. Before you were in logistics, really, right? That was.
I mean, that's
yeah. How did that help you with this app? How did that knowledge, that background? I shouldn't say app. I should say a platform, because it's more a platform.
I mean, it's an app. App is easy. So let's talk about what I did in different jobs that I've had. So most of my time in supply chain, I was a relationship manager. I'll kind of give a quick minute about how I see supply chain. So
yeah.
There's planning, there's manufacturing, procurement, and then there's logistics, right? So there's like 4 sections, right?
Yeah.
Planning is, not to disrespect any of the planners, but I did that for about a year. There's not a lot of happening. This is just like, okay, it's very asynchronous, and you're looking at spreadsheets and you're like, okay, we want to build 10 laptops, right? And these 10 laptops have about 80 different parts that are in them. Okay, so we got to make sure we have one of each part. Oh, we need 2 memory chips, right? That's just like planning what you need, right? This is, if you think about making a cake, this is just going to your cabinet, pulling out the flour, pulling out the eggs and whatever. That's that piece of supply chain. It's a huge piece. I mean, it's important. You need that. You can't do anything without it, but that's all planning is, right? It's very entry level. And then there's manufacturing. So once it's planned, the manufacturing piece, there's logistics involved too, but I'm just going to skip over for simplicity's sake. The manufacturing piece takes all the parts that you've planned, and then it's like, this is the recipe now. Now we're about to put it together. We're like, all right, we need 2 cups of flour. We need that, blah, 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 right? Put it in the oven. Oh, okay, let's see what comes out. Oh, there's the cake. Nice. Right? Whatever. I'm simplifying it. But that's manufacturing. We know what manufacturing is. And then once it's there, once the cake cools down and you put the icing on it, you got to send it out, right? Typically, I mean, the supply chain I was working with, we typically work with distributors, right? We rarely did direct to consumer. So it was in the manufacturing plant and then you're shipping it to a warehouse, right? Where it sits and it's ready to be distributed. Every piece of the, and then obviously distribution, go to warehouse and then goes to the consumer. Like, let me round the loop out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, every piece of the supply chain requires people to manage it, not to do the actual work,
Mm-hmm.
but to make sure the costs that you're paying are reasonable, to make sure the locations you're at are well maintained, to make sure the people have what they need, right? That's always the role that I played in supply chain. I managed the relationships between the manufacturers and the distributors, relationships between the planners and the operators. And on top of that is what is known as procurement. Procurement is usually viewed as purchasing, but it's really more than purchasing. But to simplify it, it's like purchasing, right? But with purchasing, it's really involved with contracts and relationships, and there's so much to it. But what that taught me, now to get to your question, is people are hard. That's the end. No,
Yeah.
people are difficult. And one thing I learned throughout that process is when someone comes to work, they're not leaving everything in their life behind. Like, everything comes to work with them, which is so important. Huge leadership skill for me. Also, understanding how to read people and understanding what motivates people, huge piece to negotiating. Also, okay, I don't know if you've ever worked in the manufacturing world, but it is, for lack of a better term, dirty. Like, it is, figuratively and literally, like, right? It's raw, right? And then when you're like corporate guy procurement working with raw manufacturing, like, you have to be raw. You're not going to be respected if you're like, okay, this is what's going to, they're like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, right? They don't care how high up in the chain you are. Like, they don't care, right? This is their house. Like, they own this plant. That taught me a lot. Early in my career, I was very much like corporate guy who, whatever. And they're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, that's not going to work here. They would tell me, like, you need to speak our language if you want to come and negotiate with us. So that was huge. I'm giving you all these things because it wasn't supply chain that like gave me the ability to go start a company. It was just working with people. It was just understanding like every role they played, because so the planning people, they were very corporate and it was easy to talk their language and most of the time got through to them. But as you move down the supply chain, working with logistics and truck drivers and dispatch, no one prepares you for that, especially owner operators who own their own trucks. Oh yeah, good luck. Like, good luck giving them instruction when like they will be like, dude, I will leave this load on the road and like be gone and you'll never hear from me and there's nothing you can do about it because this is my business, right? So it's right. I mean, dude, there's so many levels to it. But what that taught me and how it prepared me for SoundCheck is I got to learn how people operated. I don't know, and just like in the most raw way, but it gave me a lot of confidence that I could start a business and hire a team and raise money and negotiate. I did all those things in a small capacity. I mean, I was working at Apple, so that was big capacity, but I was a small fish at Apple. Also worked at Dell, same idea, very small fish. But I was like, oh, I can do this. I owned a little portion of the business when I was there. I was like, I can do this. And then kind of moving to SoundCheck, it also helped me a lot in music because I would say very much like manufacturers and drivers, that's also how musicians are. They're raw. They're raw. Right. You're not going to come to them with corporate speak and get through to them. So taught me a lot. And yeah, so I would say all those experiences kind of added up And I was like, you know what? I think the next thing for me is to do my own thing. I think I'm ready. I mean, I'm hindsight. I don't think I was like, I think I'm ready. But looking back, I'm like, yeah, I think that was like the next step for me. Because what I liked about Apple, there's a lot I didn't like about Apple. What I did like about Apple is you had a lot of autonomy. Believe it or not. Like Apple expected you to run your small business. Your managers were also running their own small business, so they did not have time to micromanage. They were like, you figure it out. Go figure it out.
I love it.
That's what I
great.
got a lot while working there. And I was like, are you sure? I'm just China on the phone. Like, you want me to go figure it out? Yeah, go figure it out. And if it breaks, which it won't, because I've been here before and it won't break. If it breaks, then I'll come help you. It never broke. So, right. So they were right. All those things just kind of like gave me the confidence to go and I knew nothing about technology. Again, my job wasn't on the computer. I was traveling. I was in manufacturing plants. I was going to dinner with CEOs, and that was my job. Like I wasn't doing computer stuff. I was not tech savvy. I remember this until my co-founder, Steven, when we first started, I didn't even know what an API was. I was like, what's an API? Like, I mean, this is right. Like I wanted to be the CEO of a tech company, and I was just like, what's an API? So like, but now I know what an API is now, but I mean, that's where I was at. I didn't know anything about technology, but I knew people. I had some really inspirational leaders while being at Apple, and I saw how they operated. I saw how they worked, and I'm like, you don't do any, like, it's like, you just know how to talk. Like, you know what I mean? And I listened, right? And it was so it was inspirational to be under that leadership. And I don't know, I felt that I could do it.
But the world is built on relationships.
Yeah.
And how you treat other people. No matter what, you can get as techie or as non-techie as you can get. It doesn't matter. It still comes down to that.
I think when I learned that lesson, it kind of gave me I don't want to call it superpower. It gave me more confidence than I ever had. Because I was like, oh, I can do more than I realize because I understand people. I think that's sort of when I started to branch out. I mean, we all kind of have an unveiled moment, but to me, that was it. It was like, oh, it's about how you treat people. Like, it's not about how smart you are. I mean, there's so many more qualified tech people that could be doing sound, right? Whatever, right? Like, I'm not the most qualified, but I was just like, yeah, I can lead people. So I think that was the moment.
All right, here's a good question for you, Ben. So what don't people know about you or SoundCheck that you wish they did?
And I don't say this because I am biased, but we have like one of the best teams I have ever worked for. I say worked for because I work for my team.
No, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, good way to think about it.
I work for them. I mean, Apple, when I was working for them, they were the largest company in the world. And I have never come across people that I'm working for right now. And it's really impressive. We aren't paying them a lot of money, which is also crazy.
Yeah.
But dude, they're all business owners. I'm learning how to run SoundCheck from them. Like, they keep me in check. They tell me what to focus on. They see all of my blind spots. They will tell me when they're doing something. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, thank you. Cool. Or they'll ask me like, have you done that? It's crazy. I'm trying to do more of that, of like letting people know who's on the team, but they don't even care. They're just like, my team is just like, I need to go to work. I'm doing stuff. So,
I love it.
So that's the thing, is the team. Erica is our lead brand designer. And so our logo is a hummingbird. Before we had the hummingbird, we just had an S for SoundCheck. And she came to a meeting one day about a year ago now. And she's like, hey, I think we should do a hummingbird as the logo. We were like, Erica, no, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean a hummingbird? That makes no sense. And she was like, no, this is it. I don't know why, but this is it. And we were like, okay, Erica, yeah, I don't think so. And then the next meeting, she had like a hand sketch of what is now we call the hummingbird check. And she's like, this is the hummingbird. And we still were like, I don't know. And she started like doing colors and things like that. and then she like gave a whole pitch of like, she created like a persona around check. She's like, hummingbirds are helpful in the wild. They provide music for the wild and they always roaming or whatever. And she had this whole thing and she like pitched this idea and we were just like, okay, that was kind of amazing that you spent that much. We were like, you spent that much effort into this logo. I mean, I'm talking about like, this was like weeks and weeks of us being like, no, Erica, like that, we're not doing a bird, you know?
Yeah.
We thought we were just going to do like a fancy S. She's like, no, it's a hummingbird. She was so convicted. And every person that's come across is like, oh, I love the hummingbird. And I'm like, God damn it. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, no, you're supposed to hate the hummingbird. That's how we build things. Like, no one says yes to anything. Like, if you want anything, and I'm not like a dictator or like, this is what's happening. I'm like, if you can convince the team, then yeah. And she worked hard to convince the team. And that's how we work. We just like, if you have an idea, make sure the team is on board. And if you can get them on board, then we'll do it.
That's
And
awesome.
if not, it's not that good of an idea.
Yeah, right.
So
All right,
anyway,
Ben.
yeah.
Last question. What's the best piece of advice that maybe someone imparted to you or maybe you learned yourself along the way?
Oh, and you ask good questions. The best piece of advice: if your parents are still alive, make sure you continue to call them. Analogy for a lot of things. I think what I've learned about myself over the years is like I pour myself into so many things. And then I convince myself that in order to be good at those things, everything else has to disappear. I know I'm reading a book now called, I think it's called The Gap and the Gain or something like that. And it talks about, when you working towards a goal and you are kind of focused on it, like that's a good thing, but there is a healthy balance to it. And when you aren't able to healthily balance, there's a gap. And that gap is usually because something is either missing and it's not even related to the thing you're focused on. So it's not even related to the project or to the relationship you're in. There's something else, right? And a lot of what that something else is like starts or is at home. you know? So the parents thing is like, sure, if your parents are alive, call them. But if not, just make sure that you don't lose your roots and where you came from and who you are, because you can always get to where you want to be, but running from who you are is never going to get you there in a healthy or positive way. You may get there, but you're not going to enjoy it when it's there. So I don't know. That's some advice.
That's excellent.
Me.
Very cool, Ben. And how do people get in touch with SoundCheck, or how do they find it?
Yeah. SoundCheckLive.io. That's our website. It's SoundCheckLive.io on Instagram and all the things. So you can find us that way.
Very cool. Thank you. Thanks for listening and being in my inner circle. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, you can send them to questions@bobbyowsinski.com. You can also learn all about the latest in music, audio, and production news, and find out about openings for my latest online classes at bobbyowsinski.com. This is Bobby Owsinski. I will see you next time